Hey guys, welcome back to the Tallulah channel, the math channel for all of the GOATs, the greatest of all time people. Today, we are going to be talking about finding coterminal angles for radians and degree measurements. Okay, so this sounds hard, but it's actually easier, especially if you know how to do degrees to radians and radians to degrees conversions. So before we start, let's figure out what are coterminal angles. So, coterminal angles are angles that have the same starting sides as well as the same terminal sides. So what this is saying is basically that they have the same start and end on the unit circle. And if you do not know the unit circle already, you can look at previous videos that you can find on YouTube. So let's try out an example together before we get into the things that are harder. So referring back to the unit circle that we already know, we can see that they want 45 degrees. So we know that if you were to draw this, that it would be about right here for the unit circle, right? So this is where it would start. So this is the starting angle, and this is the terminal angle. So if we look at this, we can basically just figure out how to find the three possible terminal angles by adding and subtracting 360. And that is because we know that right here, this is 2 pi, meaning that one full lap around the circle is equal to 360 degrees. So what we want to do is take 45 degrees plus 360 degrees. And once we do that, we know bring down to 5. 5 plus 0 is 5. 4 plus 6 is 10. Carry the 1. 405 degrees. So now that we found this, we know that if you were to go around the circle once and an additional 45 degrees, you would get 405 degrees in total. So this will be one of our answers. If we take the same 45, but instead of adding, we will subtract 360. Seeing as it's one full circle, this is how we can find the measurements easily. We can just do 0 minus 5, so we're going to have to cross out some stuff. Add 1, so 10 minus 5 is 5. 1 and 3. Instead of it just being 315 and going this way and being positive, it would actually be negative. So it would start right here, but it would go negative 315 degrees around the circle, leaving it with a coterminal angle of 45 degrees. So this would also be one of the options that we could have. If you want to do the same thing, instead of just going around the circle once, we could also go around twice. So we can do something such as 720 degrees, which is just this one lap around the circle times 2. So that's what that is. We can do 720 degrees plus 45, and that would give us 765. So there are a lot of options that you can do for coterminal angles. You just need to make sure that once you either subtract one lap around the circle, that they always have the starting and end point. So if we were to graph this 720, it would look something like that. That is 720 because, as you can see, this is one full circle, which is 360, and then another full circle, which is also 360, so that's 720. But seeing as the coterminal angle of 45 is 765, we would go an additional 45 degrees, and usually on test or something you would see 45 degrees here, and they would let you know that this is how much that angle is so that you can find the coterminal angle as well. But this is how 720 might look by looping around twice and going an additional 45, giving us 765. Okay, so now that we've tried an example with degrees, let's try one with radians. Looking at this, we can see that the question says, find the angle between 0 and 2 pi that is coterminal with 43 pi over 3. Your final answer should be in radians. So let us do a quick sketch of what our unit circle might look like. Well, it does look like. And it says in between 0 and 2 pi. So we know that right here is 0, and this is also 2 pi, meaning that the final answer needs to be in radians, but it needs to be in a radians that is between 0 and 360 or 0 and 2 pi. So what we can do is write out 43 pi over 3. So right now we know that 43 pi over 3 is too big in order to fit between these parameters and still be coterminal with 43 pi over 3. So what we do is subtract that 2 pi, which is our most amount that we can have, over 1. But in order to subtract fractions, they must have the same denominator. So we would multiply by 3, multiply by 3. And that would give us 43 pi over 3 minus 6 pi over 3. So this is a little bit better with the subtracting part. So we would do 43 minus 6, 37 pi over 3. So we would kind of just keep subtracting until we got to a radian that looks like it would fit in between the parameters of 0 and 2 pi. So minus 6 pi over 3, this gives us 31 pi over 3 minus 6 pi over 3. This gives us 25 pi over 3 and minus 6 pi over 3 again, which gives us 19 pi minus 6 pi. This gives us 13 pi over 3. And one more time, this would give us 7 pi over 3. So, just to make sure that this is something that is in between the parameters of 0 and 2 pi, we would check to see by converting it to degrees, because we know that 2 pi is also equal to 360. So 7 pi over 3 times 180 over pi, which is how we convert from radians to degrees. The pi would cancel out. This can simplify to 1, and 3 goes into 180 60 times. So we know that 6 times 7 is 42, and 42 times 10, which is what is left over, is 420. So we can see that this is 420 degrees. But what the question is asking is in between 0 and 2 pi, meaning between 0 degrees and 360 degrees. 420 is not in between those parameters. So we would subtract 360, and we would get 60 degrees. And this is in between the parameters that the question gives us. So 60 degrees would be approximately right here. But this is not our final answer as being coterminal with 43 over pi, though it is the final answer if it would have said the answer should be in degrees. So what we want to do is convert 60 degrees back to radians. But with knowing your unit circle, you should already know that 60 degrees is also equal to pi over 3, leaving pi over 3 as your final answer. Let's try this together. So let's read the problem. Find the positive and the negative coterminal angles of 275 degrees. Answer should be in radians. So see, they tried to trip you up here by saying that they would want the coterminal angle of 275 degrees, but they want their final answer in radians. So this is just a matter of working in degrees first and converting it to radians at the end. So let us draw our quick sketch of the unit circle, and it wants 275 degrees, and this will be approximately here, so 275 degrees. And we know that one lap around the unit circle would be 360 degrees. So since they want positive and negative, that means we would simply just do 360 minus 275 as well as 360 plus 275. Okay, so let us start with minus first. So we have to take some away from here, and we still need to take some more. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 15 minus 7 is 8, and the 2's cancel out. Now let's go over to the addition before we get into this side. So 0 plus 5 is 5. 6 plus 7 is 13, and 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6. So this answer on this side would be 635. So one of the answers would be 635 degrees as the coterminal angle of 275 degrees. And this is only the answer for now, but later we will change it into radians since that is what our problem is asking for. So since we did 360 minus 275, really we were imagining it as negative 360 plus 275, seeing as we need both positive and negative. So this would just be negative 85 degrees. So these are our degree answers. So if we were to convert these into radians, it would be pretty simple. So if we did 635 times pi over 180, as well as 85 times pi over 180. This is negative. Don't forget your negative. So what we want to do is this will be equal to, let's come down here, negative 85 pi over 180. So if we're attempting this without our calculator, we know that one number that goes into both of these is 5. So if we were to do 8 divided by 5, 5 will go into 8 once, leaving 35 left over, 17 pi over 3, 6. One of our answers is negative 17 pi over 36. And that would be the negative part of the question that they were asking for. And seeing as we have 635 times pi over 180, this would get you 635 pi over 180. So this also is both divisible by 5. So if we were to do that, that would be 5 goes into 6 once, with 1 left over, equal 13. That goes into it twice, leaving 3 over, 7, voila. And then this would, of course, end up being 36 as well, seeing as it is also 5. And this would be your positive answer. So the answers would be negative 17 pi over 36 and 127 pi over 36.
Take you to Rio, fly over the ocean like an eagle, and we can chill in my gazebo. Nah, nah, nah. Let me take you to Rio.